Welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio tools. Staying away from Eurorack feels, at least in my case, like trying to stay healthy as a sommelier who likes to go on 72-hour benders in his spare time. Today we are going to talk about MiniBrute 2S. This keyboardless successor to the original MiniBrute and hotchpotch of controversially discussed Arturia technology comes with just the right amount of non-modular synth facilities to make it interesting to normal people, while at the same time opening the unholy floodgates to Eurorack hell. Just say no. At the first glance, 2S is ticking all the "haven't you reviewed this one a while ago" boxes, and no, that was the regular MiniBrute 2, which still requires even more Arturia gear to stand a chance at a modular fart noise contest. Yes, the synth engines are identical. And yes, it already made me open 3 Schneider's-Laden browser tabs. The aforementioned synth engine is monophonic, analog, and revolves around the tried and tested not a Moog, not yet a real sound design tool oscillator section, with its slightly underwhelming PWM, crude analog supersaw, harsh noise, and the trademark metallizer turning the innocent triangle into dubstep bass memes drawn by a toddler. A basic second oscillator is a PITA to tune, doubles as an LFO, and is a great foundation for analog FM. This toxic frequency concoction tends to spit out ugly saturation artifacts as soon as you push the faders beyond 50% and is humiliated further by the Steiner-Parker filter that might have been the reason why synthicons are mostly found in museums. An internal feedback loop called Brute Factor elegantly hands you the final nail to the coffin of a patch that would have sounded nice on a real synth. While these two sections are indeed analog, all the elements outside of the signal chain appear to be digital. 2 syncable LFOs, an ADSR envelope, and another simplified one which can be tweaked using CV signals and turned into another LFO. However, it can be assumed that most of you are here for the built-in 64-step sequencer offering 4 lanes, which are in their unmodified state dedicated to gate, pitch, velocity, and hell yeah, Aftertouch. Yes, you've heard that right, the rubber buttons are velocity and pressure sensitive and actually quite nice to play. Definitely better than the spongy keypad of its sibling. The first 2 sequencer tracks have dedicated outputs on the patch bay but will always stay linked. It is easy to transpose them on the fly. Record them in real time or dial them in like a real nerd, mess around with playback direction, and implement scales. Tracks 3 and 4, however, can be freed from the yoke held by the first 2, which allows for polymeters, simple paraphony, voltage-based and LFO sequencing per step envelopes, and as a result, all kinds of bleeps and bloops. Feel free to record Arpeggiator motifs to the sequencer. 2S takes up quite some studio desk real estate. Sticky knobs and slightly wobbly sliders aside, it seems more than roadworthy, and it might have already dawned on you that by design patches can't be saved. I'm pretty sure that Uli Behringer is more than happy to sell the mults, mixers, VCAs and FX modules you will be missing on the patch field after 20 minutes of playing. They will doubtlessly look awesome in the rack brute that can be attached to both second generation MiniBrutes and
we don't need
MIDI throughs. In this case, the first hit isn't free but very affordable, thanks to the great people of Signal Zirkus for another artifact from their massive synth vaults. MiniBrute 2S is the most inexpensive way to start a massive spending habit while minimizing your musical output. Can it still compete in a drastically inflated synth market? You have already heard 2S in today's intro tune. That's the analog sound of the 2010s, and we might be trapped in the wrong timeline. Let's start this off completely patch cable free. Wasn't half bad. Sure, the brute-ish flavor prevails even with moderate oscillator levels, and you have to be very careful with the filter resonance, but especially simple sounds sit well in the mix. Time to bust out the patch cables, explore the more advanced sequencer functionality, and use the synth as an analog groovebox centerpiece. The desire to add random Eurorack modules is growing stronger. While I like the almost digital sounding timbres of the Metalizer and the powerful sequencer, finding the sweet spots can be a challenge, but nothing a bunch of FX pedals can't fix. It seems like the overarching concept of the instrument was optimized for jam environments. I wanna know if we can keep the creative juices flowing in a studio situation for this enormous stack of near-random synth lines and archaic MiniBrute drums doused in DAW effects and semi-artfully intertwined for maximum gear demo AMV epicness. Even by 2025 standards, 2S comes with a convincing value proposition, not only as a modular gateway drug, but also as an auxiliary synth in a conventional setup, educational tool for analog noobs, or yet another mono for hopeless gas victims. The typical brute timbre, however, is certainly not to everyone's taste, and I would probably opt for a less Marmite-sounding synth if I was in the market for an instrument like this. That being said, there is one discipline MiniBrute 2S really excels in. If you can resist the temptation of Eurorack, it might be the most economical platform for creating top-shelf analog 4-bar loops that won't get more than 5 views on SoundCloud. Thanks for watching and see you next time! Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron and use one of the links down below that support the channel regardless of what your gas commands you to buy. Thanks to all my patrons for supporting the channel and welcome to the monthly shoutouts. Any of you still remember Tonverk? It's got some nice effects. Tier 4.
Calvin's team.
King of Talent. FADB3. Confetti. Calcium.
The Mix.
Candy Shaver. Plastic.
Thomas Diefenbach.
Brian Edward.
Marinus Quillenhoven.
Tier 6.
The Village Warmer.
Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. See you next month.